Good evening. Welcome to the 1961st regular meeting of the Livonia City Council. We will start tonight's meeting with the offering of the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Donovic. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Donovic. Tonight's meeting is a voting meeting, and the minutes of this meeting will be approved on Monday, February 13th of 2023 at the next regular meeting. Ms. Nash, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye. Aye.
Councilmember Morgan?
Pardon me, here. Here.
Councilmember McCullough?
Here.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Here.
Councilmember Barr?
Here.
President Jolly?
Present. Everybody is present with the exception of Ms. Toy, who is under the weather. At this time, I will entertain a motion regarding the minutes of January 18, 2023.
So moved. Support.
Motion by Donovic, second by McCullough. Are there any amendments or comments from the council? I see none. Any amendments or comments from the audience? I see none. Ms. Nash, please take the vote.
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Aye.
Councilmember Barr?
Aye.
President Jolly?
Present. The meeting minutes are approved. At this time, the council has set aside 30 minutes for audience communication for the public to comment and address the council. You will have 3 minutes to do so. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Most of you know me, but those of you who do not, I'm Matt Colazar. I'm the state representative for the new 22nd House District, which is most of Plymouth, most of Northville, and the western and southern portions of Livonia. Prior to that, I was the state rep for the 20th House District, which was all of Northville, all of Plymouth, and the eastern portion of Canton. Well, I should say Wayne County, Northville, as the city has an Oakland County portion. Just wanted to introduce myself formally to the council and just tell you that I have a history in my previous 4 years of service of working with local units of government. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. We've had a lot of good successes in Plymouth and Northville and Canton, where I worked with them from various things such as the Plymouth Cultural Center, the Riverwalk project in the city of Northville, as well as a problem landfill just west of Northville Township, the MITC Redevelopment Authority in Plymouth and Northville on the border there on 5 miles. So a lot of success with them. I'm looking forward to working with all of you and success for Livonia residents. So very nice to meet you, and thank you for giving me just a minute here today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else wishing to address the council at this time? I see none. We'll go to council communication. Are there any announcements from the council? Ms. McIntyre?
I know we have some happy and fun things to talk about tonight, but I also unfortunately have to share the news about 2 Livonia residents that we lost in the last week. The first was Bob Sills, and Bob was just a tremendous guy. First met Bob when I joined the zoning board, and he was a wonderful coach on the zoning board. He had a lot of interesting views on things, but he was a wonderful teacher, and he was just a wonderful man. He was born on January 8th, 1932, and passed away on January 19th of this year. He had been in the Navy during World War II. He was an accordion player, and he was just contributed to the city as a zoning board member for a very long time. He was very active in the spree. He was a longtime usher and active participant in the parish of St. Aidan, and his just wonderful, wonderful man. So we offer condolences to his wife Arlene and his children, his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren. The other Livonian that we lost, and I'm flipping over to these notes, was Al DeVick. And Al was known to many people. He was an extremely outgoing guy. He passed away this past weekend, and at the age of 94. He was a pharmacist during his career. He was married for 63 years to his wife Ginny until she passed away in 2012. But being widowed and advancing age didn't ever slow Al down. He was an election inspector. He was a very involved and contributing member of the Livonia Historical Society. He was, I think, maybe one of the founders, but certainly very active in the Kiwanis Early Risers Club. And he was very, very active at the Livonia Senior Center, which is where I first got to know him, and would play ping pong with him sometimes on Fridays. And he stayed at Silver Village until he no longer could. His daughters arranged for pretty much around-the-clock care, so he could stay at Silver Village. He loved being there. He loved his friends there. In 1990, he received the key to the city from Mayor Dennis Wright, which was an extremely proud thing for him, and he too will be missed. So our condolences to his family and his grandchildren, and our community has lost two fine men. Thank you, Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you. Mr. McCullough?
Thank you, Council President. So yesterday, we had our, the infamous Livonia All-Stars take on the Red Wings alumni. The score doesn't matter. Everybody had fun. I'm going to take a moment and give kudos to my colleague, Mr. Donovic. You know what, we messed around with you a lot, but you held your own out there, and you did well. You were on the score sheet. So the biggest winner was Livonia Kids and Families. We think we're going to hit probably close to $13,000. Right to Livonia Kids and Families, which is remarkable. I've got the jersey on still. It doesn't smell too bad. But no, thank you. We had over 750 people through the door yesterday. It was incredible. We kept selling out. We tried to figure out, we wanted to make it an environment that you could sit, and I think we accomplished that. Alpha USA, thank you so much. They were our presenting sponsor. We had financial and portfolio advisors pick up the jerseys, AEW, NYX, UPS Store, Jimmy John's, and Bill Brown Ford. Those were our presenting sponsors. Without them, this couldn't happen. And again, just a wonderful event. We had the Livonia Franklin hockey team support. We had Rotary Club. We had the stands packed. We had Livonia Hockey Association, 8U girls against boys during intermission, Livonia Civic Chorus. I can go on and on. It was just a spectacular event, and we're already talking about the next year. So anybody that was out there, thanks for coming. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself, and maybe next year we'll look for a W.
Thank you. Mr. Donovic?
Thank you, Mr. President. Saturday, myself and Councilman Scott Morgan had the pleasure of attending an Eagle Scout ceremony at Mamma Mia's. It was Troop 271, and that was a packed-out house in there. I mean, it actually started to get hot in there. There were so many people inside of the banquet hall at Mamma Mia's. And City Council, all council members signed a certificate of commendation for Joseph Rea. Again, that's Troop 271. There was a lot of stories shared and a lot of really great things that that young man has done. Some that really stuck out to me is he was giving out mentor pins to the mentors. He gave one mentor pin to his first scout master, then one to one of his teachers from high school, and then one that really hit home with me is he gave one to his father, and that meant a lot to me because my dad's my best friend, and to see him, give props and respect to his father to achieve what a great honor, that was nice. Councilwoman McIntyre, her son, is an Eagle Scout, so I've been able to see his pinning ceremony, and that was really great. So that was a lot of fun to be there. And then, yes, the hockey game. I'm still sore. I'm sore in places I've never been sore before. Mr. McCullough is a really great skater. Him and his brother out there were what we call dangling and doing pretty good. But it was a lot of fun. I was actually nervous. That many fans in the stands. Like, there were so many people from our perspective on the ice. It was just a lot of fun. And really personally, being on the ice with Mickey Redmond, that was cool. But what really hurt me personally deep down was he's 75 years old and was barely skating, and I couldn't keep up with him. So that was awesome. But congratulations to Councilman McCullough and all the different Livonia sponsors and people that participated for really an amazing event. And that is so awesome, raising $13,000 some odd dollars for Livonia Kids and Family. Can't wait to see next year. Maybe we can get, Jim Jolly on the ice or something like that. His head will shine really great in the lights, so looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from the council? Mr. McCullough.
Before I get killed, so thank you. No, so my wife is celebrating a birthday tomorrow, and definitely not the last thing I should be forgetting. But no, Casey, I'm sure you're probably not watching, but if you are, happy birthday tomorrow. We love you, and thank you for all you do.
And you got her a hockey jersey.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Mr. Barr.
Yeah, a couple things. First, I'm not sure if I should be offended that nobody ever asks me to play, but then I also recognize that Councilman McCullough hasn't suggested a charity basketball game, and maybe there's a reason for that. So, no, I wish I could have been there. I was out of town, but it sounds like a great event. The real reason I wanted Mr. Chair to share an announcement is we got a birthday in the family this week. My son turned 17 this week, and so happy birthday, Caden. We love you very much.
Thank you. Okay, in terms of council announcements from the president, we just have a happy birthday to wish to our city attorney, whose birthday is coming up on February 2nd, Groundhog's Day.
Thought I escaped that notice.
Groundhog's Day. I don't know if that's a good omen or a bad omen, but, so we'll go to our scheduled agenda for tonight. A consent agenda tonight is items 1 through 3. Yes,
I'd like to offer an item right before the consent agenda, if I may.
sure.
I would like to, we had an item from the NOFAR group for a rezoning of some property that would have permitted hotel use back on the agenda in September, and several council members wanted to put this into committee. We were never able to find a date for a committee meeting. We finally were able to get a committee meeting scheduled last Wednesday, and all of the council members, or 5 of us, were willing to show up and have a quorum. But when we talked to the maker of the original motion to put it into committee and the supporter, which were Councilperson Toy and Councilperson McCullough respectively, all of the concerns that they had at the time back in September have been addressed. And I guess there were some comments on social media criticizing us for canceling a meeting because of snow. Again, we canceled it. We had all the council members that were committed to come, were ready to come, but as it ended up, there was no need to have it, and we didn't see the point in having a committee, I'm sorry, not a committee meeting, a public.
It was a committee meeting.
It was, I'm sorry, it was committee of the whole. We had public hearing on something else. We saw no point in having the meeting since the concerns were answered and the petitioners didn't have to come for no reason. So I'd like to offer, it's an agenda item tonight, but it's technically still in committee because we didn't discharge it from committee in committee of the whole meeting. So I'd like to offer right now a motion to discharge it's agenda item 5A this evening, CR 289-22, the petition submitted by No Far Hotel Group requesting rezone property at 31501 Schoolcraft Road. So I'm offering a motion to remove that from committee, discharge it from committee, and move it onto the regular agenda for tonight.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and we have support. At this time, because I am employed by the law firm who represents the NOFAR group, I'm going to pass the gavel and recuse myself from this matter.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on the motion to discharge this from committee and move it to the regular agenda?
Councilmember Morgan?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Donovan?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
Councilmember Barr?
Aye.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Aye, the motion carries, and with that, this is removed from committee of the whole, and it's placed onto the regular agenda, and it's actually on our agenda this evening, as I mentioned previously, agenda item 5A. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So we will now do the consent agenda, which tonight is items 1 through 3. These items were previously studied at the last council meeting on January 18th and found to be requiring, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I have to go back to something else. We have a report from the mayor, specifically the forwarding of the annual report for fiscal year 2021-2022, reflecting the finances and administrative activities of the city. Good evening, Mayor. You're going to give us a little highlight here?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the time tonight. Yes, I am. I am proud to share with all of you the city's 2022 annual report. And the title of our report this year is Our Impact. You'll see within the pages of this annual report, you're going to find statistics along with stories, all that highlight the various ways that together we've come together to make a difference in the lives of members of our community. We've helped to strengthen neighborhoods and created more successful business environments for people to operate in, and a lot of these have been highlighted with data points. We've been doing this now in this way for the past 3 years, trying to make the work that you all do and the work that the city does have a greater impact so that people pay attention to it. Interestingly enough, I had an opportunity last week to do a tour with our friends from MEDC, and there was a business looking to locate in a nearby community, but they were looking at Livonia for housing purposes for their employees. So we took them on a tour of many of the neighborhoods in Livonia, and we handed out the 2022 annual report. And the overall theme in terms of comments was, wow, you guys do an awful lot in Livonia, and you have such numbers to back it up. So I wanted to share with you in just a bite-sized sample some of the points of pride that I think all of you can take in the work that's been done in the past year. Last year, we were successful in hiring 19 new police officers. That brings to the total 35 new police officers in the past 2 years. This, as you know, has been our #1 priority, and it continues to be our #1 priority. Our crisis response team, which is located within the Livonia Police Department, responded to 1,058 calls for service. This council reviewed 364 agenda items across 24 regular meetings. Our Civil Service Department handled more than 1,800 job applications in 2022, and that's a 20% increase from the prior year. So people are really interested in becoming part of the city family here. 2,513 Livonia residents responded to the city's first annual community survey. We were starting to ask people, what do you think? What's it like to live in Livonia? Our Livonia Community Transit Program was responsible for over 20,000 rides in 2022. They drove passengers more than 168,000 miles this past year. Our Livonia Library Program attendance nearly doubled. There were 29,370 attendees across our various library events and programs throughout the year. Our Kirksey Recreation Center saw memberships grow by 35% last year. Now there are 13,679 members at the rec center. More than 100 city employees have been with the city for more than 21 years. So we've got a really solid workforce here in our city. And among all of those data points, the one that probably matters the most to people is that we remain the lowest tax rate in Wayne County. So you've done a lot of really phenomenal things together. We've made a lot of really good things happen in this community. We will have hard copies of this report available. So should you go out and talk to community groups and want to share the news about what it is that the city's doing, there will be copies of these available. You can always take them with you. But it's always important to know that this is available on the city's website as well. So thank you very much for receiving and filing a report. But more importantly, thank you for carrying the good news of the work that we've all done together in the past year. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. President,
Mr. Donovic?
got a question for the mayor. Thank you, Mayor, for being here tonight. In case a resident was wondering, where could they find that city survey to participate? And is that city survey available throughout the year, or is it just like small portions throughout the year?
It's available at a certain period of time, so we usually do it in the fall of the year, if I'm not mistaken. So when that opens up again, it's always available on the city website, and that's pretty much how it's promoted.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right, the third attempt for the consent agenda. Items 1 through 3 were previously studied on January 18th, requiring no additional study, and they will be voted on as one single item. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Motion from McIntyre, second from Barr. Is there any audience communication on the consent agenda? I see none. Ms. Nash, will we take the vote on 1 through 3?
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Aye.
Councilmember Barr?
Aye.
President Jolly?
Aye. Consent agenda passes. We will move on to unfinished business. Item number 4 is a report out of the Committee of the Whole meeting from January 11th of 2023. There was a waiver petition 2022100220 submitted by the Manick and Smith Group requesting to redevelop the site at 20330 and 20340 Farmington Road, located on the east side of Farmington Road between Norfolk Avenue and 8 Mile Road in the northwest quarter section of 3, to be an auto wash facility, a Clean Express. A committee meeting was held in regards to this. At the meeting, there was a discussion led by our Economic Development and Planning Director, Mr. Tormina, regarding the introduction and provide, the new information that was provided that night. Councilmember Rob Donovic offered an approving resolution, and Council Vice President Laura Toy offered a denying resolution. Is there a motion on the floor at this time?
Mr. President,
Mr. Donovic,
I'd like to offer an approving.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have an approving from Mr. Donovic, a second from Mr. Morgan. Is there any council comment? Is there any audience comment on this item? Yes. If you have council comment or comment to the, please come up to the podium, please. Okay, so you'll have 2 minutes to address us on this, sir.
I live directly behind this. First of all, I'd like to compliment the city on the development with Walgreen and that development, living about 3 houses south of that. Fine job. My concern, we have a car wash that's being developed right adjacent to a food place, Bad Brad's, that's doing phenomenal business, I might add. Nice development. All the exit of the traffic goes back onto Farmington Road. No back noise or traffic that I can see yet. My concern is with a car wash, you allowed a restaurant to have nice traffic, nice flow. It's a win. You go and allow a car wash directly next to a food concern, and it's what type of runoff, the noise, which I guess these are gonna have vacuums that can be used, if I heard right, around till 8:30 in the evening. And I would just ask any of you, would any of you like to have a car wash near your house with a vacuum going at 8:30 at night? I highly doubt it, but nonetheless, those are concerns. Runoff and noise are 2 of the major concerns. Like I said, city council did wonderful things with the other development, but this, you allow a food establishment and then you go and put a car wash right next to it? I'll just leave you with that question. It just blows my mind to think that those are one next to the other. I'll leave it at that for your thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Did you tell us your name?
I did not, but it is Kevin Cleft.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. Please tell me your name and address.
Ron Irvin, I live on Shady Side.
Thank you.
One of my concerns is the water pressure, because I've just been living with that for 30 years, and that's what I've been told, and it's nothing I can do to increase it. I think this is like having a soaker hose and somebody cuts off the end, and everybody on the end will lose pressure. The noise level is going to be increased, and mostly because of the layout of the property. You're going to have a building on the north side, and you're going to have, it's going to act like a soundboard with all the vacuums that's going to be pushing all the sound toward me and plus toward the restaurant. Now, if I was in the restaurant, and I wouldn't want to have somebody like with a leaf blower blowing constantly as I'm trying to enjoy my dinner. And the runoff, I don't know where they're going to put it. I heard it's going to be on the back property, and we have a high water table there, so I don't know what you're thinking about as far as the life expectancy of a garden retention pond, but that acts like an oil filter and chemical filter. And I know there's a couple places that they only dug down 6 feet and they hit water, and it says, okay, that's where the basement floor is at. So, because there's a stream that goes through, all the way through there, underground. So the water, the retention, and the noise level, because it's going to be constant, so it's just going to be, I don't know, just going to, not going to be able to enjoy my backyard with all this noise in the backyard.
Thank you, sir. Okay, if there's, good evening, sir. You are the developer, correct?
That is correct. Is it all right if I address?
Of course. Please identify yourself.
Sure. Nick DeSempler, address 607 Shelby Street, Detroit, Michigan. I just wanted to address a couple of the comments getting brought up tonight. Starting with noise. Noise is an item that has already been brought up by council and planning staff as well. Just for reference, These are, again, items we've said before, but I just want to restate them again tonight per the concerns. Specifically, there seems to be concerns about the vacuum correlators. And for reference, at 3 feet away from the vacuum, the noise level is 70 to 75 decibels. For reference, the OSHA recommended exposure limit for noise is 85 decibels. A hand drill is 98 decibels. At 30 feet away from the vacuums, the decibel level is down to 35 to 40 decibels. A whisper is 30 decibels, normal conversation, 60 decibels. The property line is at closest 50 feet away from the closest vacuum correlator. Regarding runoff, there will be a stormwater management system on the site. All water will be collected, conveyed to an underground detention system, and outletted to a Wayne County storm sewer within Farmington Road. No water will be infiltrated into the ground. Water will be collected, taken to an underground storage system, and discharged. Regarding water pressure, we've worked with city staff on this issue already. There's a 12-inch water main on Farmington Road. We ran many different scenarios as requested by the city engineering department through to analyze the potential impact. All scenarios had a negligible impact on water pressure. Again, this was expected. It's a 12-inch diameter water main, which is a very large, high-pressure main. So I just wanted to address those concerns. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Donovic?
Thank you, Mr. Jolly. As the maker of the motion, I just wanted to make a comment, and it's funny because the questions I had was around water pressure, water runoff, both of which were answered. One of my questions was in terms of the oil filter. The member of the community made a good comment about that. So to the petitioner, if you would, indulge us when we talk about water runoff. How is that oil filtered from vehicles or from vehicles that are being washed through a car wash?
Well, I think it's important to note that the collection system on the site is different than the collection system within the car wash itself. Water within the car wash tunnel is collected and taken to a sanitary sewer system. Portions of it are reused and treated and reused. The remainder goes to the sanitary sewer system, so that doesn't go into the stormwater system.
And I think you mentioned that at one of our previous meetings, because there's been countless meetings on this topic or this exact item. There is some sort of mechanism you have at the car wash that recycles a lot of the water?
That's exactly correct. There's 3 different reclamation tanks. A certain percent of the water is reused. For roughly speaking, 80 gallons per car are used in the wash, and 20 fresh gallons are used per wash. So about 60 gallons are recycled using the reclamation system.
Thank you. Those are my questions. The comment would be, we've, at least me personally, and at all the meetings we've had countless meetings on this item. Again, not once has anyone from the restaurant Bad Brad's Barbecue come here and issued any sort of concerns. This is a commercial building. It is along a commercial corridor, and while I'm always sensitive to noise, it's a commercial corridor, which naturally comes with sound, which naturally comes with different commercial buildings and businesses through the life of that property. I think the council did a really good job working with the petitioner to make sure that this property was as far west as possible, trying to eliminate any sort of noise pollution to those homes to the east. I think right now we have an old building that really needs a real nice refresh, and instead of just rehabbing it, you're knocking it down and building a state-of-the-art building. I think it's a really nice addition to a beautiful new Bad Brad's Barbecue right there, and I think this will be good for our community. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. You've exceeded your time limit, sir.
I just had one comment.
Nope.
For the record, I cannot make a comment for the record.
No, sir.
You said 70 decibels.
Sir, with all due respect, you're not recognized by the floor. You spoke at the podium, and you reached your time limit. This is not how we do business here, okay? Thank you very much. If there's no further comment from new petitioners, Mr. Barr?
Just one comment, just because I want to acknowledge the 2 that were here to speak tonight, both brought up relevant points, and Mr. Cleft, I think if I got your name right, I do have to say your point about next to the restaurant, and all, Councilman Donovic said nobody from the restaurant's been here, but I think even among the residents have been here. That's the first time I've heard that, and in the moment, it kind of raised my eyebrows. It's like, oh, I'll admit I hadn't thought about that. However, having been to Bad Brad's Barbecue, My main concern to that restaurant resident, if you will, business resident, would be the outdoor dining, which they have a significant area. But with the design of that, they actually have a large, it's actually an old shipping container that's been used as part of the outdoor landscape that completely separates their outdoor seating area from this area. And also, just when comparing, I hear all the concerns with this, and I understand them, and I've had people privately reach out to me with their concerns, including friends of mine who I know are against this. But when you compare this car wash to other car washes around the city, this is actually further away. All the concerns about how its impact will be on the neighborhood and noise and things like that are actually less of concerns with this site as it's designed, and I would actually argue significantly less than what we see in each of the other comparables that I've just randomly chosen. I'm not saying I've looked at every car wash in the city, but it's not that I don't hear what the residents are saying. I absolutely do, and I understand the concerns. I really don't think it's going to be an issue at all. From a noise standpoint and even from a traffic standpoint, based on what we've seen in other similar establishments. So I just wanted to take that moment to explain. I've heard it, but I think this is a good development for a site that I'm not, I think it's the best available, it's the best option for us for this site, and I think it's a good option for this site. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. With that being said, Ms. Nash, please take the vote.
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Aye.
Councilmember Barr?
Aye.
President Jolly?
Aye. The motion passes and the project is approved. With that being said, I'm going to pass the gavel to Ms. McIntyre for item number 5 for the reasons previously stated.
President Jolly, the petitioners were not made aware that this was going to have a first read tonight, so they are not here. So I guess we entertain a motion to table this until the next meeting. That really shouldn't have been directed at President Jolly. That should just.
Madam President,
Yes,
do we, I
Excuse me.
guess procedurally, do we have to table the item if the petitioner isn't here?
no, we don't have to.
Well, I'm comfortable as one council member. We've had multiple meetings and multiple attempts to have meetings here, so I'm comfortable offering a first read.
All right. Any discussion? All right, we've had the first read offered by Councilmember Donovic. Well, would anyone from the audience like to comment on this? This is the rezoning of property at 31501 Schoolcraft Road. It would be rezoned from C3 Highway Services to C4 High Rise Commercial. Sir, you need to come to the podium.
If I may just ask, when you just questioned this, what was the final disposition? It sounded like you questioned counsel, if I understood what just took place, and thereafter, after you questioned, it sounded like it wasn't resolved, or was a decision actually made? It sounded like you questioned them, if I saw what I just saw.
I'm sorry, we had a little bit of unusual circumstance tonight, because President Jolly passed the gavel to me because he's recusing himself from a vote on this. So I informed the council that the petitioner was not here this evening. They were not aware because
Petitioner being who, if you
the
could?
petitioner being the NOFAR group and the attorney representing them. Okay, so
Okay.
I informed the council that they were not here
Okay.
because of a lack of communication, all right, between the city and the petitioner. And it may be on the petitioner, I'm not sure where. The council did not wish to table this because we've discussed this extensively.
Okay.
A motion, a first read, and when there's a change to a zoning ordinance or a change to any other ordinance, we don't offer a motion and vote on it that same night.
Right.
We offer what's called a first read.
Okay.
And that comes back again for a second read for the rezoning, and at that time, it generally comes back with a site plan, and we don't act on the final rezoning until we've seen the site plan.
Okay, I understand then, this has basically been decided here then?
Well,
If I-
we're about to take the vote.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, no, sir, I'm sorry. it's a first read, so we don't take a vote. There's no vote, thank you, Councilmember McCullough. There's no vote until it comes back on the agenda for a second read with the site plan. But a first read has been offered, which means the ball gets rolling, if you will. But there's no vote taken tonight. Thank you. All right, if anyone else from the audience? All right, with that, I will yield the gavel.
Thank you, Ms. McIntyre. We'll go to new business, item number 6, a request to amend the engineering contract through the qualification-based selection process, QBS, with Hubble, Roth, and Clark, Inc., for engineering services for the MEDC grant, Greenmead Regional Detention Pond, Phase 1, Whispering Willows Inline Channel Storage Improvements, coming to us from the Engineering Division, citing Council Resolution 95-22 and 156-22. Can I have a motion on this?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval.
We have a motion by Barr, a second by McIntyre. I'll go to Mr. Lear to get us started here. Mr. Lear?
Okay. This comes to us back in March of last year. The council approved accepting a grant from the MEDC for $1 million to do 3 projects to reduce stormwater runoff. One of the projects was in the Whispering Willows, Greenmead area, trying to reduce water runoff going into the subdivisions bordering that. There was a master drainage study done. It was completed late last year. And what we're bringing now is the first phase of the recommendations from the stormwater master plan that they came up with to put in remediation, or I guess detention, retention along the Whispering Willows side of the project, the areas east of Newburger Road. There will be a second phase west of Newburger Road, but there's other developments going on with the Greenmead site, so we're waiting on those to be finished up and coordinate that as a whole project. But we'd like to get started in trying to at least reduce some of the runoff this spring while we have the chance. And so based on that, we are looking at doing an amendment to the contract with HRC in the amount of $31,500 for design, construction documents, bidding, and selecting a contractor to do the work along the Whispering Willows portion of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Lear. Mr. Barr?
Thanks for that recap. You cleared up some history for me that I was trying to remember. So the $1 million grant, is that anticipated to cover the construction of both phases?
The $1 million is actually split among 3 separate projects. There's an area up by Whispering Willows that's experiencing some flooding. There's portions of the Denmark drain that's south of here that needs some work on the existing structures in there. And there's also some erosion and flooding along the Bell Creek area north of 5 Mile. So the grant is actually giving money to all 3 of those projects. At the moment, this is the first one that's come in front of us. The $1 million won't cover the cost of all the projects, but the portion that's settled out for the Greenmead and Whispering Willows will most likely come close to it. But since we don't know the extent of the phase 2 yet, we can't say for sure whether or not that will cover it.
So do you anticipate the construction costs for the Whispering Willows and the Greenmead portion, will those be coming as phases as well? All we're approving tonight, it looks like, is the engineering services. Will the construction costs be coming in 2 phases, or should we be expecting one?
The construction most likely will be coming in 2 phases because we are looking to complete this section east of Newburger Road as early in the spring as possible. The portion on the Greenmead probably won't be hashed out and kind of coordinated with the other developments until I'd say summer at earliest. So most definitely it will be a separate project.
But it sounds like within the next few months, we'll be being asked to approve expenditures for the first phase construction and possibly within the next year for the Greenmead portion as well? I'm not, I know you're not
Yeah,
locking in, I'm just trying to get a
mo-
sense of what the
Most likely
timing.
not the Greenmead portion, but definitely the eastern portion along Whispering
Do,
Willows.
do you have any idea as to what the timing of the Greenmead portion is?
It's,
Ballpark.
there's some water system improvements and planning that's going on right now, so we're in talks with GLWA, and so there's still a lot of unknowns on that, and until we know how that hashes out, it could be early summer, it may drag out for, you know, a half a year or more. It's really kind of up in the air, so knowing that, we wanted to at least do what we could, you know, as early as possible.
Yeah, so on the Greenmead portion, understood that there's still some things up in the air, but you said several times, you've mentioned this summer potentially, and so I'm wondering, are you guys communicating closely, I assume, with Parks and Rec, just with the soccer usage of that, and they're all aware of that? Just because I know with field, this is personal for me, this part of it, because being a soccer coach, I deal with those field rentals, and I was just curious how all that's working out. And we don't have to solve it all tonight, but that's why I was curious on the timing.
They are aware, you know, that we are looking at doing some work up there.
Okay.
Since we don't know the final designs, it's hard to show them what
Yeah.
what the impacts will be until we can see the extent of what's going to be required from the GLA portion. If that falls through, then the ponds would be a much smaller portion of it, and so without knowing kind of, we don't want to scare them or give them a rosy picture.
That's
one way or
fine.
the other.
That's, and I know there's some ambiguous stuff here, and that gives me enough of a flavor for what I was looking for tonight. Thanks, David. And just brief comment on this, having offered the approving. I mean, this is kind of I think a fulfilling one, because this is a really good example, I think, of just responsive government at work. We've had residents over there in the Whispering Willows that over the years have rightly complained about the issues, and I know there's been a lot of work done towards it, but from a council perspective, you know, we had, I'm gonna guess it was a year and a half ago or so that we had a committee meeting on this. I may be wrong on the timing, but I mean, this project is in direct response to concerns expressed by residents, and the administration doing the due diligence to look into it, council appropriating the money to go after it, and we're now seeing a solution, the beginning stages being put in place. So just think it's worth acknowledging that. Thanks for all your efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. Anybody else from the council? Ms. McIntyre?
Mr. Barr did a very nice job articulating how we got here, and a lot of thanks goes to our city engineer and David Lear, who's our assistant city engineer, and your team who worked on this flooding that would take place on a regular basis, and also to our DPW, who had worked with the residents, and this is exactly, to follow up on what Mr. Barr said, how government should work, but it's also exactly how our department should work, because when it came time to sit down and figure out what the issue was, we had residents that came, that were engaged, that didn't just yell because they couldn't get relief. They explained to us what had happened, and all the background work had been done by engineering and DPW, so we knew exactly what we were dealing with, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McIntyre. Is there any audience communication on this? I see none. Ms. Nash, will you please take the vote on 6?
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Aye.
Councilmember Barr?
Aye.
President Jolly?
Aye. 6 passes. We'll move on to 7. A request to refer the subject matter of transportation to the Senior Citizens, Families, and Environment Committee. Motion made by Councilmember McIntyre to discuss transportation issues for seniors, families, and other community residents. Do I have a motion?
Oh, so moved.
Support.
We got a motion by McIntyre, support by McCullough. Is there any comment from the council? I see none. Is there any comment from the audience? I see none. Ms. Nash, please take the vote on 7.
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Aye.
Councilmember Barr?
Aye.
President Jolly?
Aye. 7 passes. We will go back to audience communication. We have 30 minutes set aside at the end of the meeting to hear residents on any item that is not on the agenda this evening. Is there any audience communication at this time? I see none. Is there any council communication? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Support.
Motion by Bars, support by McCullough. I think we can safely show 6. The meeting is adjourned. We will be back at 8 o'clock for the study session this evening. Good night.